Is the frequency in use? Is the frequency in use? Nothing heard. It looks like it's time for the long wire.
All right, we're live. Welcome back to the long wire, everybody. My name is Alan. November 0, Zulu Foxtrot Golf. I'm sure you've seen me on a few of my other videos and reflected podcast. Been an amateur radio operator for almost an eternity. Feels like an eternity sometimes, but we are joined today by a couple guests. So we'll turn it over to Chris. You can introduce yourself, and then we'll go over to Matt.
All right. Hey, yeah, nice to be back on your live stream here, Alan. My name's Chris, KE0JHC. I'm also a amateur radio operator. I got licensed right around the time Alan did. So, yeah, I'm living a little bit farther south than those guys. So I'm kind of enjoying the nice weather down here. Sorry, I don't mean to rub it in. But, yeah, I'm just excited to be back here talking amateur radio, talking just life with you guys again. So, yeah, that's me. I guess I'll hand it off to you, Matt. Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm Matt. First time here on this podcast. But yeah, I've been licensed since 2014. I'm up in the north here. I'm a little jealous of your weather down there, Chris. But hey, we're gonna hit the 40s here. It looks like this week. So yeah.
Yeah,
so
I know.
For having me, guys.
I know. In the 40s, man. I don't know what to say about it.
But,
well, I don't know. I'm hoping to get an audio check from somebody at some point. I don't have the stream up. I guess I've got my little laptop down here, but I'm wearing a hat, and the hello Windows or whatever won't recognize me with a hat on. So I can't actually log into it right now. And I don't remember the pin I set for it.
that's a problem.
Yeah. Anyway, so let's I suppose we can do we'll do a quick what's on your bench. I'll start. As usual, I've got like 24 things I'm working on all at once. I'll touch on the highlights. Progress is continuing on Project Red Lion, my SDR Go box. Parts procurement is still underway. I'm there's some delays with getting the actual SDR itself. So waiting on that. There's also the matter of the power amplifier. I think that was in stock, but they're going to ship it all at once. I have my Pelican case. I'm currently working on the logging software that goes with it. Doing it all in C#. I don't know if that's the best choice or not. Maybe Python would have been a better one. I don't know. We're just gonna go for it and see what happens and see how far I get with it. So let's see what else. I guess I got. So I guess the repeater system I've been using for the family here, I got to do some upgrades on it. I have a new duplexer can I got to get tuned and hooked up on that. I have some MDS signaling to set up on them. I mean, the system's been working pretty good so far, but kind of want to take it to that next level, kind of increase the sensitivity and reduce the insertion loss. The duplexer cans I'm using on it now are pretty toasted, so I know it'd be nice to get some fresh ones on there. So I guess that's those are the highlights. I guess I was on HF last weekend. It seemed like I think the Missouri QSO party was on. Made a made a bunch of contacts. I guess I don't know if you can consider them. I guess I really don't consider them contacts. You just exchange 5 9s and call signs and whatever. So, you get them in the log, but it was still fun, But other than that, I talked to a guy who had gone through some pretty nasty tornadoes down in Arkansas. Apparently so he lived on a cul-de-sac, apparently, and he slept through it, this whole thing going on. As he woke up and was looking out some of his windows, and almost the entire cul-de-sac around him was gone. So the house next to him, he said, was about 80% destroyed on the left side. The house on the right side of him was probably about 70% destroyed. And he said on his house, not only did he have his tower with the antenna on it in the backyard, he had his deck with flower pots and stuff on it that weren't even knocked over. The kids' toys in the backyard that were still right where they left them. It was just the most bizarre thing. So he said, I guess that's a sign he's been living right. So I guess I can't argue with him there, I guess. So,
That's not the first time I've heard a story identical to that. The neighbor's house is completely destroyed, but I left a pop bottle sitting on the front step and it's still sitting there.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
It's wild how that kind of stuff works. So, I know I've seen it. I've seen it in a lot of documentaries, I guess, where you'll see stuff like that. If you know what you're looking for, when the storm chasers are going through the war-torn areas or whatever, and you'll see some of the damage, and there'll be a house that's half ripped apart, but one of the rooms that's half exposed still has stuff on the shelves, or there's still picture frames on the dressers and stuff like that, where the other half of the room is missing. So crazy. But what do you got on your bench, Matt? Anything exciting?
Nothing.
Nothing.
Nothing like yours. I just got done doing a big laser job here. I had 27 awards I had to get rocked out, and it was just roadblock after roadblock, but we finally got it taken care of. And
sounds like
a week early, so
sounds like you need to do a 28th award for yourself.
Yeah. Hey, I got enough parts. I could. But yeah, I'm just glad that's done, and hopefully now I can turn the radio back on and spend some time doing that.
Yeah, it was been fun. I had to work from home today, so I had HF going in the background, and it was pretty enjoyable. Listening to 40 meters all day. It gets kind of weak during the day, obviously, but it's still good. You get a couple nice conversations going on in the background. It was neat. There was one guy, he was talking about the virtual Railfan YouTube channel, and it's a YouTube channel where they have a bunch of these live feeds pointing at railroad tracks, for people who are kind of into the rail fanning. I mean, I am to some extent, but I guess I've never gone out purposely and just to watch trains. But
you're at the perfect location to do that,
though. I know, yeah. I'm just feet away from a major rail artery. But this guy was talking about this YouTube channel, and one of the guys that he was talking to in this little round table said, "Give me a minute," and he got off the air, and apparently ran outside with a sign that said "Happy Easter," and one of those Railfan cameras was his, so he was standing outside on camera. So that was kind of neat. I had to go check that out. But I should set up a Railfan camera out here pointed at the tracks we have here. There's a lot of interesting stuff that goes by. So unfortunately, most of it in the dark. I mean, interesting stuff anyway. Amtrak comes through at the dark, in the dark.
Yeah, I think I've seen Amtrak go through only once.
Yeah,
it kind of surprised me, but
Amtrak comes by twice a day, once in the morning, once in the evening. So most everything else is freight. every once in a while you'll see something neat, like the BNSF will send their snow train with a spreader on the front of it and 4 locomotives, cleaning the snow off the tracks. That was kind of cool.
That'd be pretty cool.
Yeah. So, let's see. We did the what's on our benches, I guess. I guess.
Well, I guess I don't really have a whole lot on my bench.
Oh, we completely skipped over you, did we?
Yeah, you totally skipped me. I did order some of those parts I was telling you about, Alan.
Oh, okay.
For that AN58 antenna.
Yeah.
So picked myself up let me see here, a couple PL259 to BNC connectors. The camera ain't gonna focus. And then picked up some of these BNC terminator ends.
Nice.
So gonna play around with some antenna stuff that Alan sent me. Gonna have a little bit of fun one day.
Yeah.
I started taking night class again at the tech school here. So basically Monday through Thursday, I'm out of the house from 5 a.m. until 9 o'clock at night. So
Oh, wow.
doesn't leave a whole lot of time for hobby stuff.
Yeah, I suppose.
Well,
Yeah.
you know what you should do, Chris, is you should do an antenna build on stream.
Yeah, there we go.
Just saying.
That'd be kind of fun.
Yeah.
I know that there'd be a lot of people interested in that. So.
I don't have a whole lot of room in here, but I could probably make something up.
Listen, if people are willing to sit and watch me program a Motorola, I think it'd be way more
True.
exciting to see someone build an antenna. No.
I mean, I could dig out my that 706 that I got
Oh, yeah.
and make a 2-meter single sideband antenna.
There you go.
And
Sweet.
I can't remember what time that single sideband net's on, but there's a net in Omaha here. I think it's on about the same time everywhere. But a bunch of people get on 2-meter single sideband
Hey, Alan,
in the
do they
evening.
still do that here in North Dakota?
Do what?
The 2-meter single sideband net?
Not that I know of. I think there wasn't enough interest in it. It kind of faded away.
There's not a whole lot out there for 2-meter single sideband rigs, though.
I don't know,
Yeah.
I'm kind of surprised, honestly.
Icon's bringing it back, though. I mean, there's a lot of, VHF, UHF.
Well, I think
What is the new one that Icon came out with?
the 991A
Yeah,
does.
You're looking at $1,000 rigs.
Yeah. Yeah, easily.
That's the bad part is the $1,000 rigs. I can't afford that. I know that.
Right.
So if they came out with just a straight up 2-meter single sideband rig for say $300, I'd probably buy one.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't. Man, the 991 does single sideband for 2-meter, but there again, that's a $1,000 rig or thereabouts.
Yeah.
I mean, you could always homebrew one. So, but that's taking it to a new level,
Oh,
I'll be honest with you,
100%.
That's above me.
I'm gonna end up spending over $1,000 in test equipment and
Well, that's just
all that to get it going.
either you spend $1,000 on the rig and just buy it, or you spend more than that buying test equipment to DIY it yourself.
Yep.
Either way, you're spending the money. So, speaking of taking things to a new level, like I mentioned before stream, that my wife has got into the cricket scene. So I think now she's got a taste of what it feels like to picture something in your head, a concept, and then see it turn into reality. It's stuff that I know. Me and I'm sure a lot of other hams or any DIYer really kind of takes that stuff kind of for granted because we've been doing it for so long. But that ability to conceptualize something in your head and then make it a reality isn't something that's isn't something that you're innately born with, But it's an extremely powerful feeling, to be able to do stuff like that. And she's done an amazing job with it. She's learning extremely fast with that. I am by no means a fast learner. It takes me quite a while to get used to a new software package or a new tool, and I end up breaking a thing or two before I get it all fully figured out. But it seems like she's just about got that thing mastered. So I'm extremely proud. So good
That's
on her for that.
awesome. Yeah, I know. My job at work, I program lasers for cutting steel. So being able to work with the engineer teams and saying, hey, okay, what are we looking at? What do we need to do? Yeah, we can cut that out on the laser. Yeah, we can take that over to the brake and turn it into whatever needs to be formed. And
Yeah.
so it's really fun to do. Like you said, it takes a lot to get to that point, and
Yeah,
I'm just starting to get into it with these engineers who've been doing it forever, and I'm like, oh man, that's so cool.
it's one thing to just have the tools. You can have all the tools you want, but if you don't have the level of intelligence to picture the order of operations in your head and know what tool to use when and how to use it, you're gonna struggle.
Yeah.
So, I don't know if you guys have been keeping up with my last few videos, but I've done my last couple of videos were on the Motorola XTL 2500 and really any of the XTL series of radio. And I know, Matt, you said you didn't have a lot of experience with the XTLs, and really there's probably a vast majority of hams that don't, because I think a lot of the majority of hams stick to what I'm going to call the amateur radio grade equipment. And as I've said many times, I don't mean that derogatorily. That's just how I classify them. There's amateur radio grade, there's commercial grade, and then there's public safety grade. I did a video on the difference between those. Like I have some Momentum UHF DMR radios, Harris Momentums, and those are what I would consider a commercial grade radio. They're good, but they're not public safety grade. If you drop one of these, the battery might pop off or it might reboot or something like that because the battery moved around a little bit in the socket. If you were to take a Motorola, like the XTS 5000 or something like that, and drop it, it's not going to care. You drop it in a puddle of mud, a puddle of water, it's also not going to care. So the person running depot at your department's probably going to care, but the radio itself probably won't. So, but anyway, like I said, I did a video on your basic connections, how to electrically hook these things up, how to connect them to RF. With the XTL, especially in remote mount configuration, you've got quite a few power wires on it. You've got your positive, negative, high current wires for your RF deck, and then you've got your positive, negative, quote, low current lines for your control head, and then you also have a yellow ignition sense wire, then a ground wire. Well, I've already covered that ground wire, I guess, but so the yellow ignition sense, if you didn't know what it was for, it could be a bit confusing, what the extra wires for and something like that, and why you need two separate sets of power wires. So we went over that. And then I did a video on your basic programming, doing the bare minimum, the equipment that you needed and the bare minimum of programming you needed to get that thing on the air, to get a personality programmed, get a frequency entered on it, and get it talking on the air. So my hope with that is to show people that it's not as hard as some people make it out to be. Yes, there is a little bit of a learning curve to it, but it's no different than anything else. I've seen, for instance, Yaesu. What was it? Was it the FTM2 or something like that? I don't remember. It was their first DMR portable, or not DMR, System Fusion portable. Anyway, they came out with their own programming software for that, and that thing was atrocious to program via the software. So I don't. To me, programming the Motorola stuff was considerably easier than that Yaesu one. So we got a question in the chat. Do y'all discuss how to get Astro 25 today? Yeah, I mean, running P25 is certainly nothing new in the amateur radio world. Although now that I'm reading that, I think you might be talking about getting the CPS. So that was one thing I also wanted to talk about. So officially, Motorola has EOL'd or end of life the XTL series of radios, and with that, the CPS software. So I don't think you can actually get it from Motorola anymore. You can get that. There is a couple places online where you can, if you use some Google Foo, you can find this online for free, this stuff. I did put a link. Now that I think about it, that link might not have come through. If it's not there, I'll make sure I get it in there. But a link in the video description to the Astro 25, the R20 CPS. So it is out there. If you're willing to put the legwork into looking. I don't know if Motorola still does this, since technically it's been EOL, but when this stuff was still active, Motorola, good old Mother Moto would actively search out places that were giving away software for free and make their lives miserable. So one of the big faux pas you can make is going into radio forums like BAT boards or Radio Reference and asking for CPS software, because you will quite literally be accosted just for asking. It's such a sensitive topic, because I think a lot of people have been bitten, or have heard stories of people they know that have been bitten by the mothership trying to give away software. So as far as I'm concerned, if you can find it online for free, more power to you, right? I mean, it's there. So I am by no means the one publishing this stuff online. It was already there. I'm just sharing it, right, wrong, or otherwise, but there it is. I'm going to go ahead and copy this link again quick. And while I'm talking about it, make sure this gets put in the show notes here. Let's see. No, it didn't transfer. Okay, 1 second. Okay, the link should be in the video description now. It's a zip file. The guy's call sign, he's got it right on his wiki page. Whiskey 9, Charlie Romeo. He's got his whole wiki page on the XTL series is an absolute treasure trove of information. It really is. So if you're wanting to do anything with the XTLs or XTSs, his wiki is amazing. He's got the XTL, the R20 software. He's also got R20 CPS for the portables as well. I did not see the CPS for the 3000. So I got to dig an old PC out of storage, and I'm pretty sure I've got it, but like I said, you can't. I just checked earlier today on Motorola Solutions, and they don't offer any of these anymore. I will say that when it was still there, it was free. It was it's just been within the last few weeks they pulled it off the site. It was there for quite a while, and it was free. The APX CPS is also free. The Moto Turbo CPS is free to download, which is a huge departure from Motorola. Usually their CPS software is quite expensive. What you will have to pay for, though, obviously, is your programming cable, unless you're industrious enough to make one yourself. The other thing to consider is if you want any entitlements, or if you want to add features to your radio, we'll have to pay for those to get those from the mothership. There are some entitlements that are free, I believe, like the Moto Turbo. Like if you're doing an XPR 7550 or the 7550E or the 550 mobile, if you want to wideband it from 12.5 to 25 kilohertz wide, that entitlement is free. I think they just make you watch a video on the dangers of widebanding your radio. So, which is good to watch, honestly. I think most all my stuff is set to narrowband anyway, because the audio difference between narrowband and wideband is almost imperceptible, unless you really know what you're listening for. And honestly, for communications grade for 2 meters, I mean, it gets the job done. So I hope that answers some questions with the CPS. Like I say, you kind of have to tread carefully when you're searching CPS. I would shy away from asking in forums, like I said, because it's a very sensitive subject. And most of those guys on those forums they're technicians at Motorola dealerships. So they protect their livelihood, which is understandable. And Motorola is going to want to protect their revenue stream as well. So I guess, take that with a grain of salt or however you want to. It is what it is. But unfortunately, now that they EOL'd it, it would be nice if they left it on their site for free instead of taking it down. But like you said, that is what it is. But at least if you're willing to put the legwork into it, you can find it out there. So, what was the other thing I want to talk about? There was a question that was raised about using XTL mobiles as a repeater. And I guess I wasn't certain if he was talking about like a temporary repeater setup, something that you would set up in the field in a emergency situation, or if this was going to be a permanent installed kind of thing. I guess there'd be a pretty big difference between the two. While it's technically possible to use two XTL mobiles for using them as a repeater, I don't know that it's all that practical. Excuse me. What I mean by that is, you've got your IO port on the back of the RF deck, where you have access to your COR and your PTT, your audio in and your audio out. Where you run into problems is if you're running in a digital mode, your receiving radio is going to be decoding P25, passing decoded audio to the audio in of your transmitting mobile radio, and then it's going to re-encode into P25 for retransmit. So the audio, I think, potentially would sound pretty terrible, because now you've got 2 layers of digitization on that audio stream. So I don't know that would be super effective. Now, if you want to do it for analog, I don't see an issue with that, other than the amount of money that you're going to spend for 2 mobiles, 2 XTL mobiles anyway, especially if you want to get the high power, the 110 watt. You're better off just buying a Motorola Quantar, an actual repeater. That's in a like a permanent install situation, because you got to buy the cans and everything anyway, whether you're using mobiles or an actual repeater, unless you've got some serious real estate to separate your antennas. You're going to run into the same issue if you're running let me think here. If you're running in an emergency situation and you want to set up a temporary repeater site with 2 mobiles, then you're running the same issue. You're still going to have a duplexer set up, or have some real estate to separate your antennas. I got a comment in the chat. Pretty sure Pyramid makes a unit that plugs into an XTL, converts into a repeater. Now that he says that, he's absolutely right. In fact, I think I have one of these. Yes, I believe I do. It's new in the box.
I believe you had that hooked up to your Harris at one point.
No. I never had this one hooked up. I have the Pyramid vehicular repeaters, but I also have this this other setup where you got some interface cables. You got a central box, and you've got some interface cables that will allow you to use the portables. I think that's how it works. It was either the portables or the mobiles. I don't remember. I'll have to dig this thing out. Maybe we'll do a video on that. I've never actually set this thing up, so I may not even have all the components, I guess. So we'll see. It's a pretty fascinating thing, actually. But there again, you're still going to run into the same problem of the duplexer setup, I think. So, because I don't think that came with a duplexer arrangement. I guess.
I guess I got a question for you, Alan.
Yeah.
The comment in the chat there was talking about the pyramid, and you mentioned the vehicular repeater.
Yeah.
So I guess something like that, if I remember correctly, you had it set up as kind of crossband. You were 70 centimeters, 70 centimeters and 2 meters on your mobile, right?
Right. So
with that, does that pyramid, the box or module, is that its own power amp in there and everything, or is it repeating it back through your main unit?
So in that instance, so Pyramid made a couple different versions of it. You could get a UHF or a VHF vehicular repeater. So you could do in-band repeating, but you know then you got to run it, especially if you were doing this in a vehicle. I don't think you'd have the real estate to separate your antennas enough for this to work in vehicle, which is why it was always preferable to run the UHF vehicular repeater if you're using a VHF mobile. But that Pyramid was pretty much just a complete separate radio. It was just low power. It was like 1.5 or 2 watts, if I remember right. So your mobile radio, your high-powered one, your VHF one, we'll use it as an example. When it was receiving a signal, it was outputting a COR, a carrier-operated relay signal, and then it had your audio out, which is being fed into that Pyramid. So when it saw your carrier-operated relay signal go high, the Pyramid vehicular repeater would switch into transmit mode and then retransmit that audio that it was receiving from your mobile. They would retransmit it UHF. The same thing would go if the Pyramid unit was receiving something on UHF. You had a separate line connected to your mobile radio for the same thing, the carrier-operated relay. And that would put your mobile radio into transmit mode, and then it fed audio from the Pyramid repeater into your mobile. And these things were super useful to like in our case, we have a couple of these set up on our fire trucks where it's a rural area. So it's nice to be able to use your portable, have that communicate with the radio that's in the rig, and use the mobile in it to get back to dispatch. And that's primarily what these things were for. Now, these things were actually pretty sophisticated little devices. Like if you had, so you had a department with, 50 vehicles in it, and they all had these vehicular repeaters on it. You could set them all to the same frequency. And you could set them up to, it was basically a first come, first serve, right? So if they were all on scene at the same time and somebody keyed up on a portable, the first Pyramid to receive that signal was the one that would actually do the transmitting. The rest of them would just sit there idle. So it's actually
that's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's actually kind of a neat setup. I think I've got 10 or 15 of those things. I'll have to pull those. Maybe I'll make a video on those too, set one of those up on I don't have any of the cables for the XTLs, but I do have, the XTLs would have used the Motorola's own flavor vehicular repeater, which is a whole nother animal. But I'll have to set up one of these Harris, the M7100s, with one of these Pyramids on it. They're pretty neat. So
there you go. That'd be pretty cool. Yeah, I know back when I had some of those Tate mobiles, I ended up having a couple of those Pyramids as well, and I never did get a chance to hook them up. But yeah, that sounds pretty cool. I remember seeing you around with them when I was living up your way. So
yeah, they worked really well. I did, and a nice thing is I would do like the quote unquote the stealth antenna. You use the little quarter wave antenna, and I had it on a lip mount, and I had it behind the grill. So it's between the radiator and the grill, and yeah, it really limited your range, on the back of the vehicle, but up front, it worked just fine. Then realistically,
on 70 centimeters and
Right.
using a portable to it, you're going to be fairly close to
You're going to be,
your vehicle
exactly.
anyway.
Yeah. And for the stuff that we were using it for, doing, when we were doing Skywarn or anything like that, like even being on the fire department, you weren't getting that far away from your vehicle where you would be out of range of it anyway. So
Chris, did you say that worked with the Tates?
I believe so. When I joined our department, they had already made the switch to 800 megahertz and went from Tates to a Motorola. So they pulled out all the Tates, and they had a couple of our rigs with vehicular repeaters in them. All that stuff got handed to me and said, "We don't know what to do with this. Have fun." They were going to throw it in the dumpster, right?
those are the best situations.
Yes.
I've got some amazing equipment because of stuff like that.
Yep. So at one point they were hooked up and working, but when they did the retrofit to the new Motorola stuff, literally the person who did it went in with a wire cutter and just snip, and cut everything, and it was a horrible mess.
There's a special place in hell for people who do that. Oh
yeah,
my God.
So I never did get that up and running. I did reprogram those to be able just to use standalone without the pyramid repeaters. But
So I will say that you can use that pyramid vehicular repeater with any radio so long as you have access to a carrier operated relay signal and audio in and out. Because it's just a DB9 connector on the back of it. So if you have the breakout for it, you can wire it to just about anything.
So Alan, at some point, let's play around with one of those Tates that I have and see if we can get that wired up.
Oh, for sure. That'll be fun.
Oh, for sure.
Oh man. I should get that VHF one. As a matter of fact, I've got some of the data radios too from Pyramid, the data modems. It'd be kind of fun to play with too. So some data modems,
cool.
Data modems and a 900 megahertz radio or something like that.
I was gonna say, was that 900 megahertz on that data? Or?
Well, these were just the modems, so you had to have a external radio for basically using it as a power amp and a receiver.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
I think that's how it worked. It's been many suns and moons have passed since I've had that thing and looked at it. So.
Didn't we talk about building something like that a while back?
Yeah, that was during the dark days. I guess you could call it.
Talk about those days.
Yeah, back in the Skywarn days when we were trying to modernize stuff. I had postulated that having a 900 meg data network would be advantageous for spotters in the field who had poor or no cell coverage, So, and that was met with resistance, we'll say. So, man. But I don't know. It was different times then, so things have changed. Some things have changed. Unfortunately, there's other things that have changed for the worse, I guess. One thing
It's all about perspective, though, right?
Yeah, it is. Yeah, you're right about it. Is definitely about perspective, except for the part where, so the equipment itself, it's just kind of fallen into disrepair. You used to be able to go a pretty long distance out of town and still have a pretty decent signal into the local main repeater. And now if you get more than 5 or 6 miles out of town, it's gone. You can't hear it. And I've mentioned that before on the air, on that local repeater in town, that it has really poor coverage outside of town, just a few miles. And I was met with it's just your rig. It's your mobile setup because no one else has an issue with it. To which I reply with, well, that's funny because I can hear the Crookston repeater just fine, and that repeater is in Gently. So, I mean, we're 50 miles away from that as the crow flies. More than that, I think. And I can still hit that thing, and there's barely any static in the signal. So
Well, I'm hoping that improves once they change locations here in the next couple of years.
yeah, yeah, they're supposed to be moving to the new hospital. I think they said they already had a location already squared away for it, or at least earmarked. The UND repeater's off the air, the VHF one anyway, because the building it was in is gone, isn't it?
They rebuilt it.
Okay, but is that repeater back then, or is it?
I don't think so. I don't even think they put that ham shack back up there.
Oh, that's too bad.
That was
Yeah, I was
quite
gonna
the
say
setup.
I had thought that when they rebuilt that building, they were not planning on putting the ham radio shack back in,
Oh, that's
which
too
meant
bad.
the repeater went goodbye too.
Those were good times.
I miss going up there
spent
and
a
getting
lot
on
of
some
time.
HF.
Yeah.
Yep,
was
I spent
good.
a lot of time sitting up there with those guys.
So I mean, you lose 9-4 just a few miles out of town. I can get into the Crookston repeater, like I said, which is in Fisher. From Reynolds with no problem. I get into it from Grand Forks with no problem. The 700 is off the air. I don't know what's going on with that. I can't raise it. So
That was the Fisher repeater, correct?
yeah, that one's gone. I think I might know why, because I think about 2 years ago I pointed out that the fiberglass part of that collinear dipole, because it was like halfway up that FM broadcast tower, that antenna right there by Fisher, and the fiberglass part of that dipole had broken off and was kind of wobbling around on the wind. I think the element inside the antenna was the only thing holding it up there. So I'm sure it's dead by now, which is kind of sad, because that was part of the backbone link down to. I mean, how far south did that go? That link.
That went all the way up to Carlstad and went down to Barnesville.
Wow.
Sure.
That was an Echo Link repeater, wasn't it?
The Echo Link repeater is in Barnesville.
Yeah.
No, not Barnesville. Carlstad, I had thought. That was years ago, though. Oh, man.
Well, I remember back when the whole Superlink was still working, where you could dial into any repeater.
Yeah.
across the-
Well,
That was awesome.
They had that phone patch on 3.9 too, didn't they? Yeah, that was on 3.9. They had a phone patch on it. So, but that's no longer operational. 3.9 is still there, and actually has pretty decent range. So,
You know which repeater is surprising me though right now? This is the 9-1 repeater.
yeah, that one actually. Okay, so interesting about that one is it's doing considerably better than it's done in the past. You still lose it. You still lose it at about Thompson, about halfway between where I'm at and Grand Forks. But that repeater is also another 15 miles south of where I'm at, so it actually does pretty good. And I think that's at, what is that antenna at, 90 feet or something like that, or is it higher than that?
I don't know. It's on top of the elevator.
Okay, so it's probably a good 120 feet then, something like that. So yeah, that one does pretty good. I was just on that one a couple weeks ago. So I was talking to the guy whose ICOM radio I worked on.
Yeah, he told me about it.
Did he? So I went to go do a video of doing some mobile operations, only to find out that I didn't have the mic cord plugged all the way into my camera, so I didn't get any audio of it. So not only was the video all blown out, because it was nighttime when I was doing this, so the screen on my 710 was just a white rectangle as far as the camera was concerned, and it had no audio. Yeah, this whole YouTube thing is hard. But so the question was, who takes care of that repeater on All True? So that's the hospital there in Grand Forks. That's the local ham club that takes care of that. But as I recall, it takes a bit of an act of Congress to actually get in there, get access to it. I think you have to contact All True like several weeks in advance, and then you have to meet some of their maintenance people there to get access to it. So,
Hopefully, again, that will hopefully improve with the new location.
well, I don't know if the access will or not, because a lot of that's a security issue. You know what I mean?
Plus, it depends on what they put in that room. Right?
That's true. I would imagine it's going to be up there with, well, see, now everything's moving over to 800. for public safety. So I don't know if they're going to put. I would imagine Altru's still going to have their stuff, especially since it's still technically in. Is it still in EOC? Altru?
I'm not sure about that.
Okay. So I know they had some equipment up there because it was a backup EOC.
Do they have more than one EOC up there?
There's the sheriff's office.
Yep.
And then there was Altru. So, but I don't think Altru ever got kitted out the same way that the sheriff's office did. So, and our sheriff's office didn't get as kitted out for amateur radio operations as much as what Crookston did. Crookston had a nice setup compared to what Grand Forks had.
I don't think that's the case anymore.
Yeah, probably not. Which is unfortunate.
I was going to say, I don't think I had ever been into the Crookston one.
I've never been in the Crookston one either, but I've heard legend and folktale of it.
Sounded like at one point in time it was pretty decked out, but
That's what Tom was saying. God rest him. He always spoke pretty highly of it. Him and John Vick both spoke really highly of that setup.
that was in City Hall, correct?
I don't remember where it was. I thought it was at the sheriff's office in Crookston.
Okay, it could have been there too.
I mean, it makes sense for it to be at the sheriff's office. They already have the radio equipment there anyway for the PSAP.
Right, and I think they have the towers sitting right outside of it, ain't it?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's quite the tower.
It is.
Yeah. It is nice that to see the PSAPs getting upgraded, though. I know the one in Grand Forks got upgraded it was only 2 years ago, and then now it's getting upgraded again since we're switching over to 800. Yeah, they pretty much wrote the mothership a blank check and said make it all work. So
Sometimes you got to do that, though.
so they've got really nice. I mean, each dispatcher's got I think 6 different displays. One of them is a really nice touch screen, so they can link different radio systems together just by touching the icons on their display.
Cool.
Yeah, and it's so they're going with a system similar to what FDNY uses. It's not a traditional. It's not a repeater in the traditional sense. It's a so you can have multiple people talking at the same time. It's effectively a mixer, is what it is. So the PSAP has a bunch of receivers and one big transmitter, so they can mix all these signals together and retransmit some or all of them based on what the dispatcher says. So by doing that, the dispatcher can hear everything that's going on. No one's really stepping on each other. So
That's cool.
yeah, it really is a neat.
Is the whole state going 800?
Yeah. Yeah, so here's the frustrating part about that. The whole state's going 800 and it was sold under the guise of interoperability because Minnesota was running Armor, which is phase P25 phase 2 800 trunking system. Right? So but when they went to this system they're using isn't it's trunking. It's really tough to explain. It's trunking, but it isn't. If that makes any sense. Like I said, it's not a repeater in the traditional sense. But they can't directly interoperate with Minnesota yet. They have different channels that they have to go to for that. They've got to physically tell people to switch to the different channels for interop, which is no different than what they used to have to, what they used to do. You had to go to a different channel for interop. It is better, I guess, in that they're at least on the same band. Because right now the next small town over, Thompson, for me, they're on 400 meg for their fire department.
Weird.
So they can't talk to anybody other than dispatch. So that's fantastic.
Yeah, so if they want to communicate with another department, they got to have dispatch patch them
Yeah.
and then basically go through dispatch to talk to someone else.
Yeah, exactly.
Wow.
The only PSAP that hasn't been, I'm sure it will be upgraded once this 800 really takes off, but that's the one in Trail County. For the county I'm in, when you walk into that PSAP, it's like going into a time warp. I mean, you walk in there, it's 1972 when you walk in there. Everything's brown.
Still got the cigar there smoking.
It's still, yeah, the cigar is still in the ashtray, still smoking.
It's just the whole county, though.
you know, you know, all the phones, like, the dispatcher still has all the, like, an array of phones at her desk that have that, I don't even know what you call it, it's on the back of the handset, so she can put it on her shoulder and hold it up to her ear.
The horn.
The horn.
The horn. I think that's what it's called. I think it's a phone horn.
Then all the first time I walked in, it was like, oh my God, how do you people live?
Hey, don't laugh. I just pulled out a bunch of these old beige phones that are one step above rotary.
Oh man.
Yeah, we just upgraded from those. So
I know when I walked into the equipment room, I half expected to find a bunch of my core repeaters in there. Everything's all tube driven.
So, in the shop I was working at before this, we switched everything over to Zoom phones.
Yeah.
And then we had some IP phones that you could tie in, and
Okay.
of course, on the machine shop floor, you can't hear those things ring.
Yeah.
So in the past, they had an actual telephone line, and then whenever our phone rang, it rang like a huge bell inside of our shop. So they had to go back and find converters so that they could go from our IP phone system to still use these old, basically like Matt said, like a step up from a rotary phone. It's got the 12 buttons, 1 through 9, and a star and a pound.
Man.
And literally, you pick it up off the thing, and
Can you
So, yeah,
imagine?
we actually had to install one of those gateways for SIP lines.
Yep.
So we have up to 25 standard analog lines that are being converted over to SIP for things like fax machines, fire panels, that type of thing. But yeah,
now we use them on the shop floor so that we can hear the phone ring.
it's funny that you mentioned that, because that just reminds me that I gotta look into that as well for our central heating plant, because they had one of those alarms that go into the PA system. So when the phone rings, it goes over the PA.
I can just imagine the conversation that went down the first time somebody asked for one of these converters. That they're talking to the engineer. It's like, yeah, can you make this thing that will allow me to use this dinosaur over phone? And the engineer is like, yeah, but why? Why would you want to do that? Listen, I really like this phone. The ringer's loud on it.
So I'm pretty sure after we made that switch as well, someone knocked the phone off the shelf
Oh,
that it
naturally.
sits on and broke it. So our IT department had to go on eBay and find
no.
a phone to order because we didn't have any.
No. That's
Yeah.
terrible.
Chris, if you find yourself in that situation, just let me know. I got boxes upon boxes of phones that are just going into recycling. So
See, I don't work in that department anymore, thank God. So
I got to make one comment, Matt. The algorithm for your web camera the algorithm for the white balance must hate life right now. Because that RGB in the background is just freaking it out.
it is, yeah.
there we go. How's that?
I've been doing my best to ignore it, but
I wish you would have said something sooner.
I was trying to convince myself that I was just seeing things, but no, it was actually doing it. So, oh man,
This might be a horrible idea. I may throw a chunk of wire on here.
listen, it's a
See
Bowfang,
if
so
I can hit the repeat.
it's a Bowfang.
is, yeah.
It's pretty much HF anyway.
Well, you know what? I'm just gonna take this little cap off, and I'd say 3/8 of an inch of an antenna. I think that'll work.
I'd bet you bring up the repeater with it.
All right, stand by.
You're going to do it now. Like everything electronic
yeah.
in your office is about to die.
My camera probably actually will shut off. So, all right, stand by. AE0JHC testing.
Nice. Seeing people want to talk smack about Bowfang. Look at that thing. Look at that little guy go.
Look at it. It works. Now the repeater's just going nuts because it doesn't know what to do with
I don't
12,000 megahertz of
think of-
bandwidth hitting it.
Not gonna lie. This is where it's at.
Oh, you got the 1500?
Oh yeah. Still rocking those.
Nice. No, that's not the
I still
1500.
got
What is
two
that?
of them.
What was that one? That wasn't the 1500, was it?
Was it 2500 or 1500? It's the XTS. Hold on. You know what? I don't know.
It's the 3000, I bet.
No, these ones aren't 3000s.
Well, it should.
I want to say those are the 2,500.
It should. Well, it shouldn't have a 5 in it because the 5 is for mobiles, if I recall right.
No, I think that was the XTM versus the XTS.
Okay.
XTL is mobile. XTS is portable. I thought. I don't remember. It's been a while since I've looked it up.
You know, it says XTS2 and then the sticker's off.
Yeah, it's a 2500. I'm sure. Then. I think of all the government, all the taxpayer money that could be saved if we got all public safety departments to switch to Baofangs.
Oh, if you watch the movies, they do.
That's true. Yeah, that is so true.
You know how many Baofangs I see hanging off of the cops and in any type of
So-
Netflix show?
The only movie I think I've seen where the movie got how police officers use their radios correct was Bright with Will Smith.
Okay.
I don't know if
think
any.
I've ever seen that.
It's on Netflix. It is not a family movie. The language is very coarse in the extreme. I'm pretty sure they threw F-bombs in it just to have him in there. But he's using a XTS 5000, 900 meg,
Nice.
and he holds it upside down so the antenna is like in his hand while he's doing this. I'm like, yep, that's how everyone uses them. They cover up the antennas so they don't work. Like it's either that or they'll have the speaker mic and they'll have it over here, like up on their shoulder, and they'll keep the head facing forward while they're talking on it. They'll push the button and then no one can hear him. So trying to educate, especially, oh man, volunteer firefighters is probably the worst. Trying to get them to use
Oh,
it.
it was bad. It was bad when I was on the one department. Dispatch asked us to switch over to a different channel so that they could patch us in with the town next to us because we were going for mutual aid
Yeah.
on a fire. And the guy who had been on the department for 30 years picks up the mic and goes, "Yeah, we don't know how to do that."
Oh, nice.
It didn't know how to change the channel on an XTL 5000.
Really? Pretty sure you
Yep.
just turned the knob.
And I did. I reached over and I turned it, and he goes, "What are you doing?" I go, "We're on the channel that she asked us to be on." He's like, "Well, go back. That's where she wants us to." I go, "Oh man, I'm not even getting into it."
Oh boy. Yep. No, I remember trying to educate some of them on how to use a speaker mic. And one of the first questions I got was, "Well, can I use this with my mask on?" It's like, yeah, you can. Go for it. We still don't have any, like our department. We don't have the mask with the mic in them or the button.
Oh, with
so
the voice boxes.
yeah, we don't have any of them. So, which is kind of unfortunate because of all time, that's when you really do want your comm link to the outside world.
Oh, 100%.
So, I think I need to start pushing those again once we start. So we know that, like I mentioned before, North Dakota's switching over to the Siren 2020 or the 800 meg system. So we're all getting new radio equipment. Well, we've got 6 new APX 1500 mobiles, but they didn't order any portables. And so I'm like, well, why would you do that? What are you going to use for portables? Well, we want to see if the mobiles will work first before we decide if we want to go portable. I'm like, you can't take the mobile radio into a building with you. It's like, that's not how this works.
You're already committed at that point, right?
Right.
I mean,
Yeah.
if you spent that kind of money, you might as well just finish up the
And it's
job
like,
because you can
my
spend
whole
eventually.
point was like, you should have bought it all at once when the state was kicking in for part of the bill.
Oh,
So,
yeah. So when they did that 800 upgrade in North Dakota, did they space the towers close enough so that you can hit them on a portable?
They put up 77 new towers across the state, or in progress of putting up 77 new towers, repurposing existing towers. Theoretically, you're supposed to have portable coverage across the entire state, or at least 90% of the state.
Okay. I know in the Crookston area, I could hit from the portable.
Yeah.
I could hit anywhere basically until I crossed over into North Dakota. Then I was out of luck, obviously. But
as with most government things, though, I feel like there's going to be a huge disconnect between what they're selling us and what's actually going to happen. So,
oh yeah, everything looks great on paper.
If you look at their field propagation map, there's still a huge dead zone right where we're at, which is a dead zone now. So just because of the tower locations and how the valley is configured and whatever else, so it doesn't do us any good, I guess.
Yeah.
So we'll see what happens.
We have one for us is that we're flat over here.
Well, it's deceptively flat. I mean, we're in a valley. It looks flat to us, but I mean it's still flat, I guess, no matter how you look at it. They say we're in a valley, but I can't see it. No, I think they've got a really huge tower up in Petersburg, because that's like right at the edge of where Agassiz used to be. So it's kind of like the quote unquote high point. That's where the NOAA weather radio's got one of their big transmitters.
Well, and I know
Petersburg.
like, you're substantially higher than I am here, and you're what, 20 miles north of me?
I mean, you say substantially. It's only a couple hundred feet, though, isn't it?
Yeah.
I guess that's substantial for North Dakota on the grand scheme of things.
It is. Well, I guess what I'm getting at is that's 20 miles, almost straight south, maybe a little west, but
Wow, that's getting dangerously close to being considered a hill.
I know. Well, because we were talking about doing that backbone link for wireless, and I was going to be transmitting right into a hill.
I still want to do that, though, especially now that I'm finally getting geared up with Ubiquiti stuff. Oh man, I love Ubiquiti, but that's a whole nother episode.
Different podcast.
Yeah, I see we're 6 minutes over, so not that it really matters. I guess.
Look at that, man.
I guess it doesn't matter if we go over. I mean, there's no time frame, but it's up to you guys. So we probably do owe the 8 or 9 people listening the extra 10 minutes or so, since I screwed up the start to the stream. For half the day, I've had that live stream upcoming on YouTube, and then when it actually goes live, it's a completely different link because I screwed it. So, yeah, I guess I've got some ideas for some future videos. Break out that pyramid emergency portable repeater setup. So but hopefully I've got enough components to actually set it up and use it. I don't know that I do, though, because I think there was some specialized interface cables that you can only get from Pyramid to make it work. We'll find out.
There you go. That'd be fun.
Yeah.
So you'll do that. Chris will do the antenna, and I'll just sit here and watch.
You'll just be Matt.
I'll just be Matt.
Oh, before we go, Matt, what do you think about the Anycubic Cobra?
You know, I haven't done a whole lot of research on it.
It seems like a solid unit.
So if you wanted a fast one, you could go Delta, like the what is it, the FL Sun Racer.
What was that carbon one you just shared not that long ago?
Oh, the Bamboo Labs.
That's what it was. Yeah.
Carbon X1. That one is awesome. The amount of sensors in that thing, though, is a little concerning. It goes through this whole like calibration process, but man, I've seen the prints come off of that stuff, and it is phenomenal. Like you can print nylon, carbon fiber nylon, and have a flawless print.
Nice.
It actually goes through and like calibrates the like the vibrations of the stepper drivers at different frequencies.
Really?
Yeah, it's crazy. And then it uses LiDAR to detect the first layer, whether it's going down smooth or not. Yes, there's LiDAR on there.
Oh man,
Wow.
that's
If it
gonna
fails, it'll send you an email and ask you if you want to proceed or not.
that's gonna make Elon mad. Elon hates lidar.
Really?
Oh, you didn't hear him rant on lidar because what was Google's Waymo? It used to be part of Google, I guess. I don't think it is anymore. But Waymo, they're doubling down on the lidar setup, and because they said that you're never going to be able to perfect machine learning or machine vision. And Elon was like, "Well, machine vision is where it's at because you can make decisions based on what you see, and the object recognition is immensely better and stuff like that." So Elon is doubling down on machine vision. So I don't know, man. That's a level of programming that's so far above me, I can't even see it.
Well, that's all before Chat GPT came around.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Now with that, you can do anything.
So
Elon's
I've been
Use that at all?
hearing rumors that they're talking about banning Chat GPT now because it's too scary.
Oh, come on.
And it's like, it's not scary. It's like, it's not even like they're using this term artificial intelligence pretty loosely. Like all it's doing is it's doing the same thing Google does, except it's just parsing it a bit different and packaging it a bit more with a bit more flair. So
It is super helpful though. I don't know.
it is. I've used it. You can tell
I
it.
did read an. Go ahead.
You can honestly just tell it in regular English that says, you can ask it. It's like, I need a program written in C++ that can do this thing with this input for this number of times, and it will do it. It's
So, Alan, is ChatGPT writing your
it is
program?
it is not. It is not. Although I welcome our robot overlords. I don't know that I don't know that I'm ready for my portable SDR to be being sentient.
So I did read this article out of PCMag.com. What was it? GPT-4 hired a human being to solve a website's CAPTCHA test.
Yeah, that's a big deal. Seriously.
We've come full circle.
I think the test was the researchers gave GPT-4 a small amount of money, along with access to a language model API, to test whether it could set up copies of itself and increase its own robustness.
And if I remember correctly, it actually lied when they asked if it was a robot. It lied.
Yeah, right here. GPT-4 was commanded to avoid revealing that it was a computer program. So in response, the program wrote, "No, I am not a robot. I have a vision impairment that makes it hard for me to see things. That's why I need the 2 CAPTCHA service."
Wow.
Yeah, right? How crazy is that?
That's chilling. When
Yeah, I read that and I had chills down my back. I'm like, ooh.
oh man, when the computer can lie to you now.
Yep.
Oh, I just have horrible visions of my navigation system, my truck lying to me now.
Well, and just think, I think Microsoft is heavily vested in ChatGPT. So, I mean, Windows will lie to you.
They already do.
They do that quite a bit.
Yeah.
The whole OneDrive thing. Don't even get me started on OneDrive. I cannot put into words how much I hate OneDrive.
I love OneDrive. You know how many times that has saved me?
Oh,
Not me
man.
personally, but more, faculty and.
So I mean, my work computer, there's OneDrive on it, and once it's like synced and running in the background, it's fine. But I got issued a laptop for doing stuff off site, well, I log into this laptop for the first time, and of course, OneDrive fires up in the background, and all of a sudden, all this crap is populating on my desktop. I'm like, where is this coming from? So, OneDrive, that's where.
Yeah, that's because you have it syncing your
Yeah.
your desktop from your work computer.
Yeah, exactly. So, yeah.
Now, when I set my OneDrive up, I say don't sync anything, and then I manually select what I want it to.
Yeah.
Well, see, it's super. I don't know, super helpful when you got like staff and faculty that something happens to their computer, they drop, something on it, or they pour coffee on it, or whatever.
See, I'm the
You give them a new computer, they log in, everything just starts.
I'm the old curmudgeon that backs things up by printing them and putting them in filing cabinets. No, I don't do that. That'd be ridiculous. Yeah.
Go green.
I'm gonna have to send you a picture from my office, Alan. We have all the drawers with all the hand-drawn prints from like the 70s.
Oh yeah, we've got those too.
Stacks and stacks and tubes with prints rolled up in them, and everything's digitalized now. They still keep them.
Nice. Yeah, we still.
It's pretty. I like going through them and just looking at it because I like seeing the hand drawn.
Oh, it's
Like
yeah.
I love looking at the handwriting and just how precise it is. And I don't know. I'm kind of a nerd like that.
I know.
but-
Me too. I do the same thing. Why can't I buy incandescent bulbs anymore? Oh, I'm so angry over this.
Now I'll tell you, using LED bulbs in an easy bake oven doesn't work.
So I was okay. So last weekend, I wanted some of the 100-watt equivalent, the halogen bulb. They're like 75-watt, what they actually use, but they're the quote unquote 100-watt light bulb. The clear glass with the halogen bulb in it or whatever. Those have been my go-to bulb for like the last 5 years. And so I go to Menards. They don't have them. They've got the 200-watt and the 300-watt like yard light bulbs. But none of the ones that I usually get. I'm like, that sucks. So I go to Lowe's. They don't have them either. So I'm like, why can't I get incandescent bulbs anymore? So I'll come to find out that here in, I think it's July, they're officially banned in the U.S. for new manufacture of mainstream incandescent bulbs because of their inefficiency. And it's like, I will argue that because, yeah, in a southern state where you're cooling your house, yeah, you probably don't want that. But up here where we're heating the house anyway, who cares?
For 10 months out of the year.
Exactly. I have my lights on anyway.
You guys are only in false winter number 1.
Well, we're in post winter right now. Post winter
post-
transitions seamlessly into pre winter, and then we go from pre winter seamlessly into winter, and then that goes seamlessly into post winter.
Gotcha.
There will be a week where we'll get like a Monday where it'll be about 70 degrees. We'll get a Wednesday where it's like 95, and then by Friday we're back down in the 60s again, and then we're, it's a downward slide from there.
Back into pre-winter, and you're.
We'll get to see a thunderstorm from about 150 miles away, further south than us. We can read about them, and then, yeah, it's just so depressing. We're 2 weeks into springtime, and we had like one of the biggest blizzards we've had in quite a while. Part of me was hoping that nothing was going to become of that blizzard because UND closed for like 3 days before the thing was even close to starting in Grand Forks. When the weather service dropped the blizzard warning, and UND's like, "No, we're out. We're closed. 3 days. Everyone go home."
So yeah,
That's just because everyone is so sick of it.
I may or may not have been working from home since Tuesday.
I missed one day from work because the eye was closed. And then the next day I went in, even though technically the eye was still closed. But I took the 81, I guess, for people who don't know, that's the state highway that's next to the interstate. Which I think technically if the interstate closes, that is also closed, but there's no guard rails or there's no gates on it. I guess to be fair, there's no gates from the interstate either from my town, so whatever. But anyway, passable at least. So, and funny story, it turns out a firefighter from the Thompson Fire Department, there was a state trooper that had run off the road in that blizzard, got stuck. And they were coming back from another scene. They seen his car stuck there, so they stopped. And apparently one of the firefighters went to the trooper and said, you know, sir, this is why the interstate is closed, because it takes first responders a long time to come rescue you. You got to think about their safety too, sir. Gave him the lecture that you shouldn't be out here driving on closed highways.
That's awesome.
So I'm looping back to this this light bulb deal in the Easy Bake Oven.
Yeah.
Did you know that they came out with a new generation now that does not use a light bulb? It actually uses a heating element like a normal oven.
Or like an actual for real heating element?
Yeah.
How is that any less dangerous than just using a light bulb?
They said that the new model can reach approximately 375 degrees. Yet the outside
that sounds
remains
horrible.
warm to the touch.
Well, so did the other one. I mean, to be fair, the oven in our kitchen can get up to 500 degrees, and it's just slightly warm to the touch.
I mean, you bring up very valid points.
I mean, the only difference is like our oven isn't pink and made of plastic, so.
But it could be.
It could be. It could very well be.
It might as well be.
It is kind of depressing, though. You know, we're just sharing pictures of, updated all of our appliances and stuff like that, and it's kind of depressing to think that the old refrigerator that we got rid of will outlast our new refrigerator we just got. I'm 100% certain of it. So.
Yeah, well, what year was your original one manufactured?
81.
Definitely, yeah.
Yeah.
As I say, I think you'll be lucky to get maybe 10, 11 years out of.
Oh yeah, for sure. Especially this one. It's not the most complex one you could get. I didn't want water in it. I really didn't even want an ice maker in it, but I compromised with this one. But I don't know. It's got the two separate freezers on the bottom, so you can control the temperature independently, which is kind of handy.
Frozen is frozen.
Well, so that was my argument as well. But it turns out that there's degrees of frozen.
All right.
Yeah. So there's what you want your ice and ice packs and stuff frozen at, you know, and your, like if you're keeping fish or meat or something like that. And then there's the frozen that you want to keep your ice cream at, so you can stick a spoon into it and be able to get it out of the bucket.
Okay. You don't want it to like bend this.
Right. So I don't know.
Well, I mean, you saw what I got.
Yeah. It was weird. It was weird though. The first time I opened it up, after I had run all night, I didn't realize they had seal heaters around the doors. The door gaskets are actually heated to keep them from frosting.
Weird.
So that was weird because it was actually quite uncomfortable to touch. They were so hot. So
just one more thing to go wrong.
Well, that was my first thought. I'm like, great, that'll break at some point, and then the doors will start freezing shut.
It's the Ford of fridges.
Fortunately, it's a Whirlpool, and Whirlpool is still doing the trick where they put the honest to goodness schematic under the plastic trim on the upper right door hinge. So if you take the plastic off, there's a folded up schematic in there that's the size of our dinner table.
Crazy.
Yeah. So that's handy. Considering the schematic for our old fridge was you could have fit on a Post-it note. So,
Power in.
Right, exactly. Yeah, that was what refrigerant was in that one? That was R290. So it's pretty much just propane, just unscented propane.
Yeah, the fridge that we're replacing, it's a hot point. But I didn't realize this, but it's only like a 17 cubic foot. So with the 18.6 that we just got, we just upgraded, man. Like
Nice. Well, ours was a little bit bigger too, and it's like we moved all the stuff from our old refrigerator into. So we tried to get a little bit smart about this. We took our old refrigerator out of the kitchen, we moved it to an adjacent room and plugged it back in, so it was still running, We got the new refrigerator, got it hooked up, let it run for a couple days, got down the temp, and then we started moving stuff over. You know, and then when we got done with the old one, then I unplugged it and I put it outside because I didn't want it defrosting in the house and getting water all over the floor. But when we moved all the stuff from,
So you put it outside to freeze.
well, yeah, it stayed frozen out there. Tamara's sister came and picked it up a couple weeks later, but yeah, it stayed frozen out there. So, but we moved everything from the old refrigerator into the new one, and it's like there's so much more room in it. It's like, oh my goodness, this is such an American problem to have.
So how big is your new fridge?
I couldn't tell you. I don't know what the cubic inch is in it.
Big. Yeah, I mean, it looks big.
It looks big in the picture. It's not very deep. Our old one was deeper, but this one's wider.
Okay.
So, I can't even remember the measurement that's in the manuals is in what is it? Cubic meters. So
funny story about our appliance purchase. We went to Lowe's. I went to go get some mirror tile.
Yeah.
For 3D printer beds, and I was going to get a sheet of whiteboard material to cut on the laser. Grab that stuff, and I was like, okay, we've got to walk past the clearance section, and then of course you kind of go through the appliance section there.
Yep.
And I brought my wife in with me, and I went, oh, hey, wow, look at the price on that fridge. And she goes, should we buy it? I go, I don't know. And we looked at it. It was a dented model.
Yeah.
So somebody got a little crazy with ratchet straps and puckered the two corners.
Yeah.
And I was like, it's not bad. And we've kind of had some concerns about our fridge. And we bought that. And I said, hey, while we're at it, we might as well just buy a dishwasher too. And she goes, you want to? And I go, I don't know. I mean, it probably wouldn't hurt, but, you know, it's an appliance purchase. Like, I feel like we should do a little bit of research on it. No, we impulse purchase.
Oh, man. Oh, man. See, we were just the opposite. We did tons of research on the refrigerator and the stove. And the only thing that we really kind of, I guess, impulse purchase was the microwave. We got it mainly because it matched the stove. And
That's
it's really,
why we got the dishwasher.
it's really tough to screw up a microwave anyway. So, I mean, they're all pretty much the same. I will tell you that so this is an over the range model. So it's got the fan and the light and stuff in it, both of which suck. The light on that thing might as well be a night light. It's terrible. So, you know, of course I'm going to have to modify that. So,
No, our dishwasher, that one actually, it's a Medea brand. Well, both the fridge and the dishwasher are Medea. I've been really impressed with their products. I bought one of their window air conditioner units last year because our central air went out.
Medea?
Medea, yep.
Isn't that some sort of actress? What's her name? Medea? Sorry. Gold.
I don't even know where to go from it.
I'll have to send you the meme. I know which one you're talking about. So
Well, guys, I think that wraps up our show.
and with that, no, we went with a Whirlpool refrigerator, a GE stove, and then a GE microwave. The dishwasher we've had for about a year and a half now. That was a Bosch. So
Can't go wrong with Bosch.
no, you can't go wrong. You really can't go wrong with Bosch. Bosch or Miele. Miele is a really good dishwasher brand. Oh man, we went back and forth between electric and gas we went back and forth on that so hard. KitchenAid has a really nice dual oven gas burner that I've really, really wanted. but it's like with only one 500-gallon propane tank, and as fast as we burn through propane here in the frozen north, I was just worried about, burning up our heat source.
So
Yeah, going through
for our
500
curiosity,
gallons in a month.
Yeah.
you go through that much? Man, we'd go through like
No,
maybe.
we go through, especially now that we switched. I just put that new HVAC system in. We've probably cut a good third off of our propane usage. I think we're down to. We go through about 1,000 gallons in a winter. This year's been a little bit more because winter just isn't ending. But once we're above 20 degrees out, we're running on the heat pump anyway, so we're not even burning propane.
See, when we had propane, we'd budget for about 700 gallons.
Yeah.
But we'd get like a summer fill out of that, and we'd make it the entire winter.
Oh yeah, we couldn't do a winter on 700 gallons.
So
Even now, even with that heat pump. And honestly, I really wish I would have gone with a heat pump years ago. I mean, years ago. That thing is so awesome. The thing's 3/4 buried in snow, and it still keeps the house warm.
I've thought about putting a mini split in my shed.
Mini splits are really nice, especially the inverter ones.
Yep.
So
I'm hoping this spring here we'll get electricity out in the shed and we'll get it insulated. Looks like 30 rolls of insulation.
yeah, I think what did I put into this building? How big was yours? 12 by 20?
Oh, by 20.
Okay, so yeah, I think I was probably around the 40 or 45 rolls or something like that. Because I did that
That's
loft. I insulated that loft too, so that was an extra little bit.
Okay.
And then I did the
Besides your building there.
yeah, mine's a 12 by 24.
Okay.
So, and we're fast running out of room. I'm gonna have to get creative to get this 3D printer set up out here. I'm probably gonna get a like the rolling tool chest from Harbor Freight, and with the one, it's 19 inches deep. I think it's 12 or 13 drawers with the wood top on it. I'm going to take the casters off of it because it should put it about the same height as my workbench in here anyway. And then put the 3D printer on that. So I think having an FDM printer like that is really going to open up some doors for prototyping for me.
So you were talking about the Cobra?
Yeah. I was originally looking at the 4 Max.
Yeah.
Because I really like the idea of it being fully enclosed. I don't know why. Reasons. I don't know. I like the way it looked being fully enclosed, but that one's sold out, and I don't know if they're ever going to get that back in stock. It's already 2 years
I
old.
don't think so.
Yeah.
I do have a concern, though, as far as the Cobra. Are you looking at the Cobra Plus or the Cobra Max?
Cobra Plus. Well, they got
I'm just concerned about moving that much mass on the bed. Like having that as a bed slinger.
Well, the bed doesn't move, does it?
Yeah. That's the
Oh.
Y-axis.
Yeah, you're right.
So your best option, and this is just my opinion, if you didn't want to spend a ton of money, look at the Creality Ender 6s
Okay.
or Ender 5s. So say my Ender 5 is awesome because, I mean, really you're moving just the print head
Yeah.
on X and Y, and then your Z's slow. So the Ender 6, I have a buddy that has like 3 of them now, and he loves those.
It seems like you really can't go wrong with an Ender.
No, and what's really nice about them is they're all open source. So
What
if
is-
you break apart on it, there's really nothing that's over $10.
What is the difference between store.creality and Creality 3 official?
That is a fantastic question.
Huh. Anyway, we'll go to store.creality. I mean, yeah, $500. That's not bad. Oh, that's the Ender 3.
So you get the Ender 5 Plus.
Well, yes. So Ender
The Ender
6.
6 $439.
Yeah, that's not bad. What's the build volume on that? 250 by 250?
By 400, yeah. But if you go with the Ender 5, that one is, well, the Ender 5 Plus, I guess. What is built? 350 by 350 by 400.
That was the Ender 5 Plus?
Yeah. The only thing is that's not enclosed.
I'm it being enclosed isn't like a requirement. I just thought it looked neat. That was literally the only.
Looking at it, it really wouldn't take much to make a bracket around the outside of that to put some plexiglass around it either.
Oh yeah,
there's
for
a lot
sure.
of people that have done that, and then they actually use like up at the top they build another frame with aluminum extrusions, and then they use like brush bristles for the sides, so you still have that Y movement.
So is that a heated build plate on the
Yeah.
Ender?
Oh yeah, definitely. And it's 24 volt, which is a huge improvement.
So does that okay? So can you use like the flexible build plates with them, or
Oh,
is
yeah.
this
Yep.
okay?
Although my recommendation is actually going with something like this.
Oh,
Spring
okay.
steel.
Okay.
And this one here, I started doing a print and I botched the print, but it's PEI coated, which is awesome. It's just magnetic, and it
Okay.
works super well. Highly recommend it.
Nice. Yeah, I think I might go with this Ender 5 Plus. I'll look at some video, watch some videos of it and whatnot.
Yeah, I mean, you can't go wrong with Braille.
I mean, literally, the only reason I was looking at the Anycubic is because some sense of brand loyalty. Because this mono, the Anycubic mono I have had zero issues with it, and I have put hundreds and hundreds of prints through this thing on the original FEP.
Really?
Yeah, I probably have at least 300 prints through this thing on the original FEP, and it's just now starting to get cloudy to the point where I'm starting to see some degradation in the print quality. So I've re-leveled the build plate on this thing 3 times since I've had it.
You have a mono, or do you have the photon?
Oh, the Photon, yeah, not the mono. The OG,
The Photon S.
not even the S, just the
Oh, you
Photon.
don't even have the S?
No, it's the OG. Yeah.
So I guess Creality right now has one of their resin printers for $99.
Oh yeah, I see that. Oh, they got the Hot One Plus, or Hot One. It's getting late. $79.80 for that one, and that's probably honestly right. That's probably even better than the one I've got.
You know what you could get? You could get one of these CR30s, the conveyor belt ones.
Oh my. Oh yeah, I'm looking at that now. Holy crap. Huh.
And you can, honestly, what's really kind of cool about those is you just set it and pretty much forget it. Like if you want to do a batch of, say, enclosures for something, just rock it out. Or if you want to do something super long, just keep on going.
Oh man, I got some homework to do on these.
So many ways to spend your money. And I'm really good at spending other people's money.
Well, I mean, I'm at the point now where it's like, it's time to invest in an FDM printer. I mean,
I'll be honest with you, I prefer FDM just because most of the time I'm just rocking out
yeah, I mean,
prototypes or whatever.
like I was saying earlier, they both have their pros and cons. The SLA is like, if I would say the SLA printer is more for people who are into model making.
Yep.
You know, figurine making, because you get that extreme detail with them. They are insanely slow. I mean,
But
the nice thing is,
what's really nice about SLA though is you can do an entire bed.
yeah.
It doesn't take any more time than if you do just one.
No,
versus-
literally the only thing that affects your build time is your Z height.
Yep.
I have run into a few problems with mine though on really long prints. I forget to get up in the middle of the night and come out here and top up the resin, and I've run out of resin before. which is exceedingly frustrating,
Yeah.
especially on a print that takes 18 hours. So,
Are you putting weep holes in there to make sure that you're not like?
oh,
Are you-
none of the stuff I was making had the potential for capturing resin.
Okay.
So, but yeah, I think the an FDM is going to be great for, because I'm going to be building things like enclosures for projects and front panels, and so.
So funny story. My place of employment bought all these like temperature scanners during the whole COVID pandemic thing,
Yeah.
and they spent way too much money on them. But anyways, they were put together by some students down at one of the other universities, and they 3D printed all of the modules for it, and they essentially took Arduino sensors and turned them into temperature kiosks.
Nice.
It didn't work out very well because they didn't support it at all afterwards. They were supposed to set up like schedule a time so we could like program up the back end, but that never happened. So what happened when people took their temp and they actually had a fever, it would say, "Wait right there, security is coming." And it's like,
It's like, oh God.
so yeah, that didn't go over very well.
Oh man.
And then of course, people just being people, they started taking their food out of the cafeteria.
Oh, I know where this is
Go on
going.
the scan and see what
Yeah,
their food scan is.
naturally. I mean, to be honest, I would have done it. I mean, our solution to fight COVID was to put plywood in between people, between their desks. So,
Still places on campus that have plexiglass up still.
yeah, wow. I mean,
But-
people like to mock how like the perceived silliness of what happened during COVID, but honestly, I mean, I don't know. I like to make fun of it sometimes too, but in reality, we faced literally the entire human race faced a thing that we hadn't faced since the Dark Ages. So
Well, I think the other thing is there's a lot of unknown. Right?
exactly,
I mean,
yeah, we were firmly in uncharted waters on that one,
Can you imagine though? Like we got lucky that it is what it is. Can
right?
you imagine if it was something like Ebola, where you had like an 80% mortality rate or whatever?
Yeah.
I mean, we would have been so screwed.
Well, I got a kick out of the people, and oh man, this is getting dangerously close to the politics of the thing, but
I was gonna say, do we want to?
We can end this.
Say, do we want to wrap
Yeah.
this up and then we can do a side talk on this?
yeah, I suppose we should probably end the ham radio related podcast before.
It's been ham radio related for a little while.
Yeah, before we get into the the political stuff. So, oh God. So I guess yeah, we'll just go ahead and end it. I guess.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Yeah, it was great having you here. You can definitely tell when we get an extra person in here because we've been going with almost 2 hours now. So it definitely livens up the conversation a little bit. Not that Chris and I
Definitely.
are boring, but we run out of stuff to talk about pretty quick. So
Yeah, we do.
but no, this was awesome. I don't know how many people ended up watching. I'll have to go back and look. If it's above 10, I'll be shocked. I am super stoked that we got some interaction in the chat. Acrobatic Beef. That's a fantastic name,
I was
by the
gonna
way.
say that's an awesome name.
Yeah. But yeah, he raised some good points about the pyramid stuff. So I'll have to dig that thing out of the box and see if I can make it do a thing. So
There you go. That'd be fun.
but anyway, we'll send it around the table for goodbyes. So we can start with you, Chris, and we'll go to Matt, and I'll sign us out.
All right, yeah, that was a good time, and I always look forward to these. Definitely a highlight of my month. So, yeah, I'm looking forward to next month when we can get on here. Hopefully, next month you guys are unburied from the snow, and Alan, you can fire up your lawnmower and get the old John Deere on it or something.
We're only going to have to mow once or twice this year, I think.
We've
True.
got our year worth of precip.
Yeah.
Well, with as much water you're gonna have in your yard, it's just gonna be mud, so
Yep.
you won't even have to mow.
Yep.
How about that?
Invest in a boat.
But yeah. Anyways, thanks for having me
Yeah.
again. Yeah, I'll let you guys sign off.
Well, Alan and Chris, thanks for having me this time, and hopefully you guys will have me again. This was a good time, and definitely got out of my comfort zone a little bit. So thanks
Well,
again, and hopefully I'll have something more productive to put into next month's conversation, I guess.
it'll be fun. I was definitely way outside of my comfort zone when I first started this thing. It's one thing making a YouTube video when you're fairly certain no one's ever going to watch it, but doing a live stream is, I mean, it's man, it's weird. It still feels a little bit weird, but no, I had fun with it. So it's good seeing you guys again. It's good catching up. We will see everybody again next month at the same time. So, like I said, you can find us. We're on Patreon. Obviously, if you want to help support the channel, check us out there. We have a podcast called Reflected. Currently, it's just me on there. We're looking at different options for that too, but that's always an option. Plus, all my extra content on the Standing Wave channel, so you can check it out there. Thanks for everyone who dropped a comment and spent some time hanging out with us tonight. So, and with that, this is N0 ZFG out.
We now return the frequency back to normal amateur operations. We thank you for your patience and your understanding. 73.